So somehow in a year where every single person in the entire world has experienced nothing but change, I am so surprised at how my study routine has changed in only 6 months of 2021. So I'm so excited to share with you guys how my study routine has changed in the first 6 months of 2021 with me studying Spanish, Tagalog, and Armenian all at the same time. If you guys missed my other study routine video on what I was doing in January, make sure to check it out right here and you'll see how much it's changed in only a few months. So let's get into it. So during my Tagalog lessons, we'll write out example sentences, and then after the lesson, I'll go back through and rewrite them without seeing the answer. And then if I have no idea what a word is, I'll highlight it so that I can try and insert it into other sentences where it might work as well. And then if there's something that I've come across before and I'm really just not getting it as quickly as I would like to, I'll go ahead and circle that. So I did that for about an hour on Saturday. And then I did a little bit of drops for Tagalog as well. I've also been using Toggle to keep track of what I do every day for language learning, and apparently I opened up StudyLib for Spanish for 1 minute, so just trying to keep it real here, and sometimes you get distracted, and I wanted to include that as well. So I used to not do any studying on Sundays because I wanted to take that time to sort of rest and reflect on how the week went so I could go into the next week feeling super confident about what I was going to do. But then I kind of realized that I was forcing myself not to study, which felt kind of counterintuitive. And so now I do whatever I want on the weekends, and I actually do end up studying a lot more on Saturday and Sunday than I used to. I used to try and contain everything to the week, so Saturdays and Sundays felt very free and open. But now I kind of like putting a little bit more of my language learning on the weekends. So on Sunday today, I'm going to do basically the same thing I did yesterday with my Tagalog reviewing and going through all of the sentences we went over in the lesson and then rewriting them once again. So I do something similar but also a little bit different for Spanish in that I now have 2 notebooks. I am now one of those people. And so during my lesson, I will go through and take really kind of chicken scratch, really quick notes in this notebook. And then to review it, I'll go through and put it really, really nicely into this notebook. And so you can see that there's a difference between the two where I'm really working through how to organize it in my head and in my thoughts and in my notebook, in the blue notebook, and then this green notebook is all of my really nice notes. And it's not to say like I want them to be perfect and it's going for perfection. It's just that once I transfer them over, I have reorganized them in my head and in my notebook to be able to have really clear and concise, really well done notes in the green notebook. And I do go through and I'll like white things out that I kind of messed up on so that the green notebook is really crisp, clear notes so that I can just kind of quickly skim through it when I'm trying to review and I don't have to deal with all the chicken scratch because it's a lot more clear and concise in this notebook. So I'm going to go through my Spanish lesson and take everything that was written and make sentences for them and organize them into verbs and into nouns and make sentences for those. And then I'm going to group them into these are things about health and these are things about different rooms or something like that so that once I have them in here, it'll be like it's gone through 12 different versions in my mind before it even reaches here. I used to think it was a waste of time to take all of my notes from the computer and from my lessons, to handwrite them, to reorganize them, and rewrite them a ton of times. But I've definitely seen by doing this process, by just the physical act of handwriting, I'm actually remembering things a lot better. It's also making me realize how much review I really need to do. I would say for every hour I have of a lesson, I do almost 2 or 3 hours of review, which I definitely wasn't doing before. And so rewriting my notes like this has made me realize that I need to actually go over my notes a little bit more than I was before. So Tuesday, I did my final half-an-hour review before my hour Spanish lesson. And doing the same thing, I did some ma and maka verb review as well as some pseudo verb review for Tagalog. So if you follow me on Instagram, you might know that I recently broke my ankle. So whenever I ice my ankle now for about 20 minutes, I also do 20 minutes of Armenian. It's been a very interesting habit stacking practice, but it's one that's sticking, so I'll keep with it. And of course, using the Drops app for a little bit of Tagalog review. So I don't know if this is just me, but I feel like it's so much easier to wake up earlier in the summertime. And so I'm totally taking advantage of whatever natural body clock my body is working with right now. And so I am taking Tagalog lessons in the morning. I was mostly forced into this because everyone in the Philippines is 12 hours ahead of me. So when it's their evening, it is my very early morning. And so it is 8 a.m. right now, which I guess is not that early, but it is 8 a.m. and I'm going to have a Tagalog lesson before I start my day. And I've been really enjoying actually doing this in the morning, and I know that was one of my goals, was to start studying a little bit earlier in the morning. This was kind of the perfect push into that, and so I've really been enjoying doing this in the morning before any other thing. So it's a 1-hour lesson with a wonderful tutor, and I have a few minutes before it starts, so I'm gonna start logging in right now. So I'm really trying to read more in Spanish, and I was actually able to read for 40 minutes today, which never happens. I've never really been able to read past 15 minutes, so I'm feeling really jazzed about that. I really loved all of the graded readers that I've read from Juan Fernandez. They're a little bit longer, they're about 100 pages, but I would say after every 20 pages or so, the chapter ends, and then you have a little bit of review. So if you're somebody that might not be ready for that kind of commitment with 100 pages, I would definitely recommend Short Stories in Spanish, and I'll link that one down below as well. But I think they're both great options for reading in Spanish, and the Juan Fernandez ones are only like $3, so you can't really go wrong with that. I also got this book for Spanish, the B1 CEFR exam prep, and it's not because I'm necessarily planning on taking any of the CEFR tests, but I do really enjoy having sort of a stepwise thing to work through where something is like level 1, level 2, level 3, that all builds off of each other. And so when I finished that part of Babel, I kind of was looking for something else to fill in that gap for me, because I know that's how I really enjoy learning. So I thought, if anything, this would be a great kind of level way to work my way through some of the words that I might have missed in other lessons or other previous sort of studyings and things like that. It's not because I think this is like the end all be all and whatever for Spanish, but I think if anything is going to fill in those sort of gaps of everyday knowledge, it's probably going to be this. And I also decided if I hate it, I just also don't have to use it. But I've really been enjoying working through it, and I think it has definitely filled in a lot of the gaps of things I haven't talked about over the past year, because things like vacations obviously haven't come up as often as they really would in other conversations in years that are not 2020. So I've been loving working through this, and honestly, I only do like 5 words a day every time I do it. I'm not trying to speed through it. I'm not trying to do anything crazy with it. It's just kind of there, so I feel like I am working towards finishing something. And also, it keeps me off the computer because it's a physical book. And then I did a little bit of IO lingo for Armenian. I took a little bit of a break from StudyLib for Tagalog, but now I'm right back there doing a little bit of review of inverbs. So I've been wanting to go to an event that was held in Spanish online for a while now, and I randomly got an email inviting me to one, and so I went, and let's just say I'm not ready for that. But I am glad that I went, and I'm glad that I tried it out, and I am glad that I listened to native Spanish speakers speaking for an hour, but my brain couldn't process anything after that for like hours. Then by like 10 p.m., I was able to actually do something. So I did a quick little workout, and then I don't know if this happens to you guys, but I was just like, I'm not going to get up from here. I'm just going to sit and lay down here. And so after watching an episode of Criminal Minds on the floor, I was like, maybe I should do something else on the floor if I'm not going to get up. So I did a little bit of StudyLib for Armenian, and then a little bit of IO lingo sitting right there on the floor. I have to say I definitely go through phases of IO lingo because sometimes the app, honestly, is just a little too glitchy for me to deal with. It seems like in the past few months it's really gotten a lot better, but I think you can see too on the screen recording here, there's like an error right away. So sometimes the audio is definitely not what the word actually says, but I will say overall it is really effective and really great if you're looking to get out of the textbook and into something that's app-based. I definitely recommend it, but definitely know that you have to put up with a little bit of glitching. So for a while, I was taking Tagalog lessons as well on Friday mornings, and I really loved that pattern of 2 times a week. But this week, I kind of felt like every time I moved ahead in a lesson, it was taking away time from being able to review. And obviously, the more you learn, the more you have to review. And so I decided not to do a Tagalog lesson today. And, you know, I always thought that when you don't go at your normal pace, it's because you're burnt out or you have a lot of stuff going on in your life. But for me, it wasn't either of those. It was that moving ahead meant that I wasn't remembering any of the things that we had talked about before. And so it wasn't that I was burnt out or anything. I'm actually still very, very excited to continue and move forward. But to move forward, you also have to remember everywhere that you've been. So today, instead, I'm going to do a Tagalog review in the morning instead of moving ahead, and I'm going to put that lesson next week, which is totally fine. So I found this sort of sweet spot with Spanish where having a conversational lesson on Friday afternoons means that I get to practice, but I'm not necessarily learning a whole bunch of new material, and so I don't feel like I need to have so much review time and going back, where Friday afternoons are just kind of an opportunity to practice, let things sink in so I can feel really productive going into the weekend. And so I'm gonna have a conversational lesson in about 5 minutes or so for Spanish, and then I'll be done for Friday. So because I started this vlog on a Saturday, that is actually going to be it for the entire week of studying Spanish, Tagalog, and Armenian. I hope you guys see how much this has changed, and so I can only imagine how much more it's going to change in 6 months. But it has been an absolutely amazing, fun, interesting, fantastic journey along the way, and so I'm really excited to see how the next 6 months changes in my study routine for all 3 languages at the same time, and maybe adding a 4th. We'll see. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you in the next video, and definitely let me know if there's anything you are curious about or want to see about my studying habits or routine. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.